Was there ever any conversations, any form of communication or contact with anyone in attempts for a welterweight undisputed fight between Errol
Good
Spence and Bud
question.
Crawford?
Again, so, and I explained this. I was doing an interview the other day. Is we sit in what we call our war room, and Prince Khalid will say, these are the fights that I'd like to see happen. Amer, what fights do you think you can happen? And we look at different quarters and different fights. And in boxing, it's great to plan for a December fight, but can we really speculate what's going to happen, 7 months down the road from here? We can't. We don't know what's going to happen 6 months down the road from here. We don't know, because boxing works in quarters. So, the Spence Crawford fight, of course, it came up, and we would love to do that fight. I think there's a lot of things in the background that people don't see that I think both fighters want it. From what I heard the other day, is Earl and Bud talk directly, and they want the fight. And I would absolutely be open to taking that fight to Prince Khalid if everybody on board wants to make the fight. And what ends up happening is not everybody in your boat is rowing. Some people are drilling holes when you're not looking. And I think that's what sinks these ships.
I gotta ask. Obviously, Terrence Crawford took to his live many months ago and said that he had a separate entity that had $50 million, $25 million each for him and Earl. Earl said, all money isn't good money. He's good
Correct.
with Al. Do you think you would be able to have an open conversation with Al and he look or accept doing business in that fight? Because he specifically told Crawford, according to Crawford, no one's getting that fight. Meaning whatever outside entity had 50 million, he didn't care. He's not sharing that pot.
And that would be, entirely Al's prerogative to do that. I mean, Bud's a free agent. Earl is very loyal, as he should be, to his advisor. So whether or not he wants to take that out or not is entirely up to him. And you got to kind of put the Al Heyman hat on if you want to look at this objectively. How many times, how many people, if me in my short, 5-6 months, I've been on board Skill Challenge and I'm getting flooded with all these offers, how many times has Al been approached about mega fights in the Middle East, and particularly? It's so much so where he's like, everything out of there is BS. So Prince Khalid coming forward, and listen, we are 3 fights deep, so we're still a fairly new entity. And you're talking about, 3 fights since 2019, so it's not even a consistent new entity. It's a new entity. But, as we progress, I think our name is going to get, be a lot more prevalent in sports, and we'll work with everybody. But what, Shelly Finkel and I have a great relationship, and Deontay is advised by Al Heyman, and that has been giving a blessing and a green light to proceed forward. So I think when Al sees that it's real, then that's when maybe a different perspective or a different perception of that fight, and then a different evaluation could work. Al's not a stupid guy, and you can see in how he moves certain guys. He's a very calculated guy, very private guy. His circle is very tight, and that's what puts him in the position that he's at. I think when things get real, and maybe the Wilder fight is the first step for that. Of course, I think the Spence Crawford boat will have sailed by then. Yeah, but if those are conversations that would like to happen, then I am absolutely open to sitting down and having that conversation with whoever it may be that wants to represent those entities.